Hi everybody, welcome back on Study Room, and today we are going to do election campaign. It is the continuation of chapter 3 in Civics, class 9th. Alright, moving on to next slide. So you see, election campaign, you see the leader here and people are listening to the leader. Why are they listening to the leader? Because leader is conducting campaign here. He is telling and reading his manifesto, the party's manifesto, and what all changes they will bring in once they become the leader or the government. So these are the things done in your campaigning. So in India, campaign takes place for 2 weeks between the announcement of the final list candidates and the date of polling. Candidates contact their voters, address meetings, and mobilize supporters. You must have seen the road rallies as well as. Alright, now there is an activity. How was the election campaign in your constituency in the last Lok Sabha elections? Make a list of what the candidates and parties said and did. So the main purpose of election is to give people a chance to choose their representatives. The government and the policies they prefer. In our country, such campaigns take place for a 2-week period between the announcement of the final candidates and the date of polling. Alright. So during this period, the candidates contact their voters and political leaders address election meetings, political parties mobilize their supporters, and this is also the period when newspapers and television news are full of election related stories and debates. In an election campaign, political parties try to focus public attention on some big issues. They want to attract the public to that issue and get them to vote for their party on that basis. All right, it's all about attracting the voters. Popular slogans you must have heard, or your fathers forefathers must have heard. That is, in the year 1971, Garibi Hatao, Congress Party, Lok Sabha elections, and Indira Gandhi was very famous for that. Save democracy, Janta Dal. After the what happened after emergency was emergency came to an end. Janta Party was all very angered and was like save democracy, and this was their slogan in Lok Sabha elections. Then again, Left Front West Bengal election, land to the tiller, is very famous, and protect the self-respect of the Telugus. So of course, who would say this? Telugu Dasam Party. All right, it is a state party. All right. So, what's not allowed during election campaign? We have studied what is allowed. Now we have to study what is not allowed during election campaign. Bribing or threatening voters. Alright. Appealing to them with caste or religion. So you cannot tell them just because you are Hindu, you have to vote for me. Just because you belong to Islam, you have to vote for me. So this is not done. Use of government resource for election campaigns. So all you can use it's your personal resources, public resources, but not government resources. You cannot give away the money and distribute it for your own personal use. Expenditure over 25 lakh in a constituency. So you cannot spend 1 crore in one election in one constituency elections. No, the limit is 25 lakhs and over 10 lakhs in a constituency in assembly elections. So with different elections, the bar differs. All right. Now there is a model of conduct. So in addition to the laws, all political parties in our country have agreed to a model code of conduct for election campaigns. Alright. So how the model code of conduct tells them how they would behave during the tenure of your elections. This would include prohibition of uses of place of worship for election propaganda. So you cannot enter in a let's say masjid to say that no, all people who are worshipping here have to vote me. So you cannot use God or you cannot use religious places for your propaganda. Then second thing is prohibit use of government vehicles. So you cannot go around with that neeli batti and roam around the streets and saying vote me. No, you cannot use government vehicles, aircrafts and officials for elections. So not even you can hire IS and PCS to ask people to vote for you. No, you cannot do that because these people are government officials. Third thing is minister shall not lay foundation stone of any projects. So any new projects would not start in the wake of your elections. Alright, take any big policy decisions or make any promises of providing public facilities. Once elections are started, you cannot bribe them or greed or inculcate greed in them. No, you cannot do that. So this is a model code of conduct. Now there is polling and counting of votes. What is polling booth? So polling booth is usually near your residence in a school or government office. An agent of each candidate is allowed to sit inside the polling booth and ensure that the voting place takes place in a fair way. So every registered voter can go to a nearby polling booth. Election officials check identification and mark voters' fingers to avoid a double voting. So that if there is no mark on your fingers, anybody can go vote twice. Say that I could not vote in the first time, so I'm voting it now, and people won't recognize it. So that is why there is a mark. You all must have heard that there is one mark on the index finger to ensure that double voting is not done. Now there is ballots, an electronic voting machine. So there is a history behind it, alright? So earlier, the voters used to indicate who they wanted to vote by putting a stamp on a ballot paper. So there was a kind of ballot paper, and on that sheet of paper they used to put a stamp. A ballot paper is a sheet of paper on which the name of contesting candidates along with party name and symbols are listed. But nowadays technology has advanced. So what is happening right now? EVMs, that is electronic voting machines, are used to record votes. The machine shows the names of the candidates and the party symbols allotted by election commission. Alright. So what would happen then? All that the voters has to do is to press the button and the vote will be given to their respected candidates. Alright, independent candidates too have their own symbols, and this is all done by Election Commission of India. All that the voter has to do is to press the button against the name of the candidate she wants or he wants to give his or her vote. Once the polling is over, all the EVMs are sealed and taken to an institute where things are checked. So you can see a ballot paper is a sheet of paper with a list of contesting candidates and their party names and symbols, and they have now replaced by EVMs. Alright. So now how counting of votes are done. So once the EVMs are sealed, what happens once the polling is over, all the EVMs are sealed, they are taken to secure places. A few days later, on a fixed date, all the EVMs from all the constituency or from all constituencies are opened and the votes secured by each candidates are counted. So the agents of all candidates can be present there. Why? To ensure that the counting of votes are done in a fair manner. In general elections, usually the counting of votes in all the constituencies take place at a same time, on the same day. Television channels, radio and newspaper report these events. So you can see the candidates who secures the highest number of votes from a constituencies is declared elected. And this is control units of EVMs where they are brought together for counting day. So now there is this question. Identify the fair and unfair electoral practices below. A minister flags off a train in his constituency a week before polling. Of course, it is unfair because we have read in the Model Code of Conduct what it says that you cannot launch a new policies in the wake of elections. All right. A candidate promises a new train for his or her constituency if she is elected. This is also very unfair. Supporters of a candidate take voters to a temple and make them take an oath that they will vote for him. This is also very unfair. All the practices are unfair over here. So what makes election in India democratic? So we often hear of unfair practices like rigging, minister campaigning in religious space, etc. And we feel bad when this happens. So how do we know that Indians' elections are democratic in nature and ensure free and fair elections? Let's learn about this in this video. So how it happens is that there is an election commissioner headed by chief election commissioner is an independent body that is not answerable to the president or the government. So election commission takes decision on every aspect of conduct and control of elections from the announcement of election to the declaration of results, and it implements the code of conduct and punishes any candidate or party that violates it. During the election period, the election commission can order the government to follow some guidelines to prevent use and misuse of governmental powers to enhance its chances to win elections, because sometimes people use malicious choices to win elections. All right. Or to transfer some governmental officials, so some honest officials are being transferred sometimes so that they do not act as a hindrance of their win in the path of their win and their success. So some honest government officials would say, no, this is corruption, don't do this. All right, that is why they are being transferred. So this matter is taken care by election commission that this situation do not take place. All right, so when on election duty, government officers work under the control of election commission and not the government. So this is how chief election commissioner, it is sufficed by two other election commissioners. All right. What are the powers of election commission? So decision on conduct and control of elections are taking place. He implements code of conduct and punishes violations. He prevents use and misuse of governmental power to enhance its chances to win elections. And government officers on election duty work under the election commission and not the government. So the question is, why does the election commission have so much power? Is this good for democracy? So the thing is, people's participation in election is usually measured by voter turnout figures, and sometimes what happens that government might misuse its power. So election commission as an independent body keeps a check on it, and therefore the free and conduction of free and fair elections are possible, which is the main feature of a democracy. So identify which powers are used by election commission in each instances to ensure free and fair elections. So election issues notification constituting 14th Lok Sabha. Election commission tightens norms for poll expenses. Election commission to visit Gujarat again, review poll arrangement. Alright. So which powers are used by election commission in each instant to ensure free and fair elections? Election commission shoots down HM advice on poll reforms. Election commission says no immediate plan to ban exit polls. Election commission to keep closer eye on hidden poll costs. Alright. So these are the activities that you have to perform and identify that various principles on which election commission functions. Now we have popular participation. Alright. So people's participation in election is usually measured by voters turnout figures. So in India, the poor, illiterate and unprivileged people vote in larger proportion as compared to the rich and privileged section. Alright. So this is in contrast to Western democracies. Western democracies, what happens that the rich are more in comparison to poor people. And the interest of voters in election related activities has been increasing over the years. The more the literacy, the more people would be aware of their rights. Alright, so common people in India attach a lot of importance to elections, and they feel that throughout elections, election is the only process that can bring pressure on political parties to adopt policies and programs that is favorable in India. So in the year 1991, we were far lagging behind the UK. UK is the purple line and we are the blue ones. But in 2015, we are doing equally well. Alright, we are doing equally well. In the same way, the poor and illiterate and unprivileged people vote in larger proportion as compared to the rich and privileged sections of India. This is a fact and you all have to remember. Because for poor, it is the only way to change their destiny. If government won't take enough steps, nobody is going to help them. So that is why this is the only way they could pressure government to work in their favor. Alright, so you can see the OBC, SC and ST figures, they vote profusely and immensely, while the rich section or the privileged section might not vote that much because the elections won't make difference to their profit, so they might not do vote. Alright, but in the US, things are very different. White people vote, black and Hispanics are the ones who do not take much interest in comparison to other peoples. Common people in India attach more importance to elections, alright? The people living in villages would feel more attached to the elections. So does your vote makes a difference? 18% say you don't know. 67 says yes, it has effect. It also pressurizes the government, the rich people, because when one is a government, one is a part of government, he or she might have enough funds and all kind of sponsorships, but the poor can only make an impact by a single vote, has no effect as said by 15%, which is a very less compared to 67%. So we can come to this chart as well. Participation in campaign related activities has also increased. Alright, so they also get indulged in election campaigning. In 2004, one-third of voters took part in campaign activities. Can you imagine? One-third are themselves are so much attached to a political party that they are campaigning for that party. So you see that in 2004, almost 33% are voting, are campaigning. Alright, 32%. So acceptance of election outcome. Alright, so in our country generally there is a peaceful transfer of power. So the ruling parties routinely lose elections in India. Alright, so the ones that they are governing throughout 5 years, there are high chances that they might lose in the next election because there is topsy-turvy land in India through votes, because people find it the opportunity to change the government and bring someone else in the part so that other person can reform as well. Otherwise, there could come, if one particular party is simultaneously and continuously winning over large area, that party might start believing in despotism. All right, they do not care anymore for the rural people and the urban people. All right. The second point is about half of the sitting MPs or MLAs lose election. This is how it happens. Third is candidates who buy votes or with known criminal connection often lose elections. So it is seen, it is observed that if someone is by malicious ways winning elections, he might lose the election because people will find out that this person is doing wrong, and the genuine voters stop voting for that person. The genuine voters will seek an honest person so that their demands would be fulfilled. Fourth is electoral outcomes are usually accepted as people's verdict by the defeated party. Defeated party does not start riots and say everything is wrong, everything is bad, and like that. They do not create ruckus. Instead, they say, yes, this is people's verdict, and we will bring change, and we might win back in the next election, and something with a optimistic attitude, they accept their defeat. What are the different challenges to the free and fair elections? All right. So, unfair advantage of the candidates, parties with a lot of money. Candidates with criminal connections may secure tickets. Dominance of some families. You must have seen nepotism in politics as well. Similarities between major political parties. Smaller candidate parties are disadvantaged because sometimes they do not have enough money. All right. So we have done the entire chapter. We will be doing the questions and the quick revision in the next video. Till then, revise what we have learned right now. All right, different challenges and how the election campaigning works, how well the voter turnout is. This is all you need to know about this chapter, and this is very important for your exam, from your exam point of view. So till then, take care, stay safe, bye.